this last lap, kind of lunge for life, just trying to make something happen. Ended up, spinning out Denny Hamlin, ended up losing some positions. But what you can really take away from it is, you work so hard to get here, and then you want to execute. And he just didn't have his best day on execution. And his work ethic is high, his care level is high, and I know that hurt him. But that team will stand behind him, and they'll be fine.
Something a little bit of a miss so far for the one in practice. He's multiple seconds off. Cars driving by him left and right. I don't know if this is by design to get going slow. I know there's a few tire concerns. Danielle, how's it going on pit road?
Yeah, Steve, I talked to Ross Chastain this morning, and I said, how were you able to let last week's disappointment and playoff elimination go? He said, I didn't let it go. I just got out of bed the next day and got back to work, but I still haven't let it go. I'm going to try to go win the next 4. Interesting, you said they seem a bit slow now, but among all the ovals, this is, by the numbers in the next gen era, Ross's best oval. And as crew chief Phil Surgeon said, Stevie, being out of the playoffs now does give us a little bit more freedom to start trying stuff for next year, and I can also be a little bit more flexible tomorrow on strategy.
Yeah, I think you got to look at the glass half full opportunity. They would much rather be in the playoffs, but what can you do now that you're out? And that's just it. You can start looking ahead for next year and just what did you want to try? What can you learn? So it'll be interesting to see how that one reacts.
Yeah, the truth is, not letting it go, right, is kind of the admission, hey, I had a bad day. I feel like I let my team down. But eventually you have to, right? There's Chastain to the top of the board after riding around for a few laps, kind of at slow pace. But, we've all made mistakes, and we've all had regrets from the things that we did on and off the racetrack. And it's just part of competition and part of life. You have to learn from it and move on.
That was a very interesting start to practice because obviously Chastain has a fast car. He's now the top of the board. So we saw this tire at Kansas. We saw some Penske cars had some flat rear tires. We've seen flat tires here before. Normally it happens under low air. So I don't know if this was by design, if the one of Ross Chastain didn't like something the way his car felt. But either way, it was, to me, very clear that he rode 3 slow. Multiple seconds off laps. And then his 4th was the top of the board, and his 5th also good. It would be a top 3 lap.
So, Steve, you mentioned that. We saw this with Ryan Blaney 2 weeks ago at Kansas where they lost a tire. We saw it with Ryan Blaney here in the spring as well. Lost a tire and hit the wall. So, yeah, maybe taking it easy early in the run, which a crew chief, you would want your driver to do that.
Yeah, I could see if you feel like that's what happens. Because under yellow, you get some pace laps to get the air pressure built up. Under green, maybe you put a little bit more air in. As now we watch the 77 of Carson Hocevar, who's second on the board. Rough 1 and 2. You're just going to see kind of the back of the car bottoming out. You see a little bit of that smoke off the rear diffuser, the vertical strakes off the diffuser. And what makes that difficult is the other end of the racetrack is relatively smooth down here in 3 and 4. So what you want at one end for a setup doesn't really fit the other end.
Did you take it easy in the pace car ride today, Jeff, or were you mean to your passengers?
Well, that was a brand new Toyota Camry that we drove around.
Reiterated by Steve.
Like peeled the sticker off, brand new.
I think it's fair to say that it went as fast today as it will ever go in its life.
Yes. Oh, really?
Yes.
How about you pushing it, Jeff? But
I agree.
Even in a passenger car, do you feel those bumps in 1 and 2?
Oh, yeah, for sure. And it gets different as you run up the racetrack or down the racetrack. Steve and I talked about it. When we were in the car, we felt like in qualifying, it would probably be the smart thing to do to run the second lane, not run the bottom, not run the top, because that's where it's the smoothest. And see if you can make lap time like that, because the lower you can run the car, the more downforce it makes. And if you cannot run through the bumps, that allows your team to get the car lower in the back. So that would be that's what he and I decided we would do if we were working
That's
together.
your plan?
Yep.
I like it. I like it. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., nice little finish for them at the Roval. They wound up 19th in that race and had the fresh tires at the end of the race and some momentum for that team, Jeff, at Hayek Motorsports.
Yeah, this is a team that obviously, it's one of the smaller teams in the series. They do a lot of this by themselves. They don't have a great big affiliation with the team, and they do a really good job. Of course, Ricky's the right guy for that too. He's a really good race car driver. He pushes the limit, finds all the speed in that race car. They do a good job for a small team, a really good job.
Yeah, and third fastest today, and the mile and a half have been, pretty good for that race team. And I think, Steve, folks will forget maybe They had some speed at Kansas. They had legit top 15 speed at Kansas and got caught up in a late incident.
This team does that. You know, there are certain weeks that they struggle, and then certain weeks they just have really, really good speed. I think we should talk about a small team, Jeff. That's what you have to do. Instead of trying to be great everywhere, you have to kind of pick and choose your moments of development and improvement, and we definitely see them.
See Mike Kelly taking a look on for that 47 team who leads that charge in Hayek Motorsports. Justin Haley is fourth quickest on the board. You know, and I chatted with Ryan Sparks, Jeff, about kind of their progression through the year, and he said, listen, we're really happy with our Saturdays. We just have to execute our Sundays a little bit better. And then he mentioned the metric. He said, if we just keep getting put in Group 1 and it just puts us behind every week, and you can't seem to kind of climb out of that mess.
Well, it's so hard when you do get back in points and you're not finishing great. You're going to go out early in qualifying, and that is, for most racetracks, that's definitely a disadvantage. So, the only thing you can do is ultimately just start finishing better. And with better finishes, you climb the points. All that gets better. I know a disappointing year for them. I know going into the year, I think we all expected better results from that 7 car, and I'm sure the offseason is going to be a lot of work, a lot of effort to turning it around to get this car running more like they expected to run.
Yeah, you look at the spring for Justin Haley here at Vegas. Started 33rd, wound up finishing 14th. And Steve, I know they're got to be looking forward to Talladega next week. Finished 3rd. Remember that at Daytona. Almost put himself in the playoffs in the final race of the regular season.
Well, we forget just how impressive Justin Haley was in the Xfinity Series on those speedways. It seemed like he just had a natural ability for it. We have John Hunter Nemechek in that legacy number 42, passing Austin Dillon into 3. I'm waiting to see what the offseason does for Legacy Motor Club. I've seen very distinct steps in the right direction at times. It has tapered a little bit in the last couple weeks, but they have been very vocal, much like we were talking about with Hayek. They're like, look, we don't try to be great every week. We try to be as good as we can, circling the weeks that either because of the drivers or the technology or for whatever reason they feel it's a better fit for them to make improvements. And when they make improvements, it is impressive. That's what somebody like the 3 of Austin Dillon, they're looking for, right? When I look at RCR, they're looking for some of that spark that like Legacy Motor Club has shown. Now, if they raced at Richmond every week, Austin Dillon would be fine.
I know.
He'd have like 15 wins. And
he wishes they could race at Richmond every week. But, you know, you look at his teammate Kyle Busch, 6th fastest on the board, so showing some potential hope. But jumping back to Legacy Motor Club, Jeff, you know, talking to John Hunter Nemechek's teammate Eric Jones, he told me, listen, these mile and a half, that's really been our bread and butter. We have to capitalize on these days. We have to take advantage when we come to these type racetracks. So I think they feel a little pressure coming to a Vegas.
Well, I think their speed on the mile and a half, though, frees them up to start working on some other things, right? Steve just said it. Like when you are trying to build a program, you really have to focus on something. Well, the mile and a half stuff's good, so don't quit working on it, but it also gives you a little bit of time to start working on some other stuff, some areas where you're weaker. So Steve's got a great point. What will they do in the offseason to make that next step? Because there is no question they were better this year.
It's funny. I say this because it's funny. The offseason you would think would just be automatic, right? Everybody gets to take a rest, kind of retool. But the lack of like going to the racetrack and seeing where you stack up, it's easy to get lost. Like if you leave the last race turning right and you think the company needs to go a little to the right, we need to work on A, B, and C, and you're incorrect, you don't figure that out until March. That you should have went left. Like you can get a long ways in the wrong direction. Any of that, that's not a legacy conversation. That's the entire garage. And it is sobering when you come here in March and you're like, we've completely gone the wrong direction. We have to completely retool and do it as quickly as possible. Absolutely, it happens.
Yeah,
there's not a lot of look, there's not a lot of testing. There's just not a lot of, other than race weekends, we don't see a lot of cars on race.
There's no way to prove your theory, in other words,
little.
until you get to here at Las Vegas, first mile and a half of the year. Dylan, the other playoff driver that was eliminated last week at the Roval in Group 1 is Austin Cindric.
That's right. They are just completing their 20th lap on this run here in the opening few minutes of practice. And here's what Austin has to say about the balance of the 2 car.
At this point, I'm max aggression as far as what I'm doing to rotate the car both ends. Whereas I started out maybe a bit neutral. 1 and 2. There's no problems with bumps.
So this is good and important feedback that Austin is giving. They are, as teammates, with Joey Logano and, of course, Ryan Blaney, who are still in the playoffs. They're effectively ingrained with the 22 car. This 2 car is this weekend. So this run that he and crew chief Brian Wilson are working through right now is going directly into Paul Wolfe and Joey Logano's kind of ears and for their ability to kind of diagnose and dissect whatever Austin is saying about the car. So they're going to be working with them all weekend, just trying to help out the 22 who still is fighting for the championship, just to give them as much of a balance and a read early on in this practice before the 22 goes out in group number 2.
He's running a little bit different line than everybody else is on the racetrack. You saw him up the racetrack in 3 and 4. So it's a little bit hard to compare his lap times. But if you're Joey Logano and Paul Wolfe, you're not exactly impressed right now with the speed, because they do not have the speed. They're 3 or 4 tenths off of what some other guys can run right now. So let's see what this lap is. Cindric Clinton on the line. Let's see what he runs this time. Last lap was a 31.40. This was a 31.20. So now that puts him about 2.5, 3 tenths off. So definitely a little better on the bottom, but still a little bit of speed to go find.
Certainly moving around the racetrack here at Vegas can add or take away time. The Las Vegas Motor Speedway, this track has been a chaotic one here in the playoffs. 5 of the 8 had trouble last year in this race. Who will survive Vegas tomorrow?
So our wedding's in a couple of weeks.
Right now, there's Zane Smith turning in some laps. You know, the last mile and a half we were at, Steve, didn't end so well for that 38 car, did it? Wound up flipping at Kansas just a couple of weeks ago. That was an interesting ride, wasn't it?
It was interesting. A kind of an interesting crash. Kind of gets squeezed into the wall. Finally, the right front catches it, climbs the wall, gets on his left slide, and goes for the slide. Then just when you think he's slowing down, it decides to go for what looks to be definitely some uncomfortable tumbles. That last one that lands on the left frame rail has got to get your attention.
That last one is what Zane said was the one that hurt the most, Jeff.
Yeah, that thing just bottomed out on the frame rail, and that just sends all that energy straight up through the driver.
just hoping to keep it on all fours this weekend. And they've had pretty good speed, Jeff, at these mile-and-a-half tracks. They've been able to show up, run top 15, and when you're the 38 team and Zane Smith, that's kind of the goal, is the range that you want to be in as a top 15 car at least.
I think this team can be happy with their year. You know, we talk a lot about how do you get better in the offseason? What have you done to this point? But this team has certainly been the best team at front row, and I think they have a lot to be proud of and a lot to build on. Good, solid year.
Yeah, I mean, 13th at Darlington. Anytime you run top 15 in the Southern 500, first race of the playoffs, everybody brings their best stuff. I think you have to feel really good about that.
Yeah, and if you talk to Ryan Berginti, he'll bring up the fact that, hey, we have the speed. It's just the execution, late in the race execution, kind of finishing off those races and finishing where we deserve to finish speed-wise, for sure.
So hard to fix. Just so hard to improve your efficiency of mistakes.
So, Jeff, we've seen Kyle Busch be near the top of the charts. He's been 6th for a while, but it was a really short run to start off the day for Kyle Busch, but now he's put in 18 laps. What are you seeing from the 8 car?
Yeah, he and his teammate Austin Dillon both went out, ran a few laps, immediately came back in to get work on their car. Currently, his lap times look pretty decent. I mean, at 19th lap, a 31 flat, looks pretty competitive. Chastain at 30 laps at the 31.20, so pretty decent speed from the 8 car.
Yeah, they need a little something to go their way. This is a team that started with, you know, a little bit of a stub toe at Daytona, but then Atlanta, Coda, Phoenix to start the year, all in the top 10, and then a pretty long dry spell. Their last top 10 as an organization for this car specifically was Darlington in 8th. And it's just,
that's crazy.
You know, this is a guy that used to win multiple races a year. So I know that you know, they're continuing to work. They're now doing it with a different crew chief, Andy Street's on top of the pit box. Kyle's crew chief will move over next year. Crew chief for Connor Zilic, so they went ahead and make the change, which I agree with, but just try to see if you can find some sort of spark.
It's crazy to think that Kyle Busch has had that, you know, long of a streak without a top 10, but also just that he hasn't led laps since May, Steve. I mean, it's insane to think. So if you're Andy Street, what do you set the goals for these final 4 races for Kyle Busch to just kind of give you something to build on in the offseason?
Well, I think the first thing is you just have to find something that Kyle doesn't have to work so hard. He's making mistakes behind the wheel that are a little uncharacteristic, and I believe it's just because he refuses to think he could be this far off, and he tries so hard, and he almost tries himself into a mistake. I think the organization's there to support him, but to your point, he's only led, what, 60 laps in the whole year. I mean, it's just a long ways off. Now, the head scratcher is, you know, let's not forget, his teammate went and won it, Richmond. So I'm not saying the 3 consistently has more pace. That would be a bit of a fabrication. But at one organization where Austin Dillon had it, the 8 didn't really have it there either.
Kyle Busch kind of shot up the racetrack there in 1 and 2 and said enough with that run, brings it down pit road. And Brad Keselowski has taken over the best overall average. It was a little bit of a rough Roval for Brad K. Wound up 35th at the Roval last week. Road course is certainly not their thing this year, but Vegas, one of his best tracks. His average finish of 12.6 is the best among his mile-and-a-half tracks, Jeff.
Yeah, you know, this is another team that we saw a big improvement from the middle part of the year. We saw them in position to win several races. They did not execute, whether it was a strategy call, a pit stop, whatever it happened to be. They had chances to win some races, Danielle, but ultimately didn't get it done. And of course, you know, this series is about winning.
Yeah, and I think one of those wins, Jeff, could have come earlier in the spring. At least that's what Brad's crew chief, Jeremy Bullins, told me. He said, that one was my fault. I called too conservative of a race. We could have run it to the end, but I had him pit late because we were on a string of several DNFs in a row, and I just wanted to make sure that Las Vegas wasn't going to be another one. But Brad's a 3-time Vegas winner. I asked Jeremy, what's the goal in these last 4 races? He said, top 5s every week, and contending for a win is the goal, and I think Brad can do it here Sunday.
Yeah, you would think just kind of getting on the board, Steve, with a nice top 10 would be good for that 6 team heading into the final few races of the season.
What Jeff said, you know, remember, they went for 2 to 3, and it definitely pulled away from the 6 cars, you know, went from 2 to 3 cars at RFK, and I really think this was a playoff-looking organization, playoff-looking car
in the summer.
In the summer.
Yeah.
They just got too far behind.
Yeah, and I think Brad Kay has mentioned that several times. You know, he admitted to me and several other people as well, you know, hey, I willingly gave up the test, gave up the opportunities to go test at the track to our teammates because I felt like they could be in a position to win races, and I didn't give myself a test until late in the year at St. Louis. He said, man, I wish I'd have done that earlier in the year. Really changed what we did as an organization when Jeremy Bolins and I could work together for a couple of days just practicing, seeing what we could get done with a 6-car.
Hard to believe at 41 years old, you know, nearly 600 starts, and a test can still just affect your year that much. But with the limited track time, it's just such a big advantage.
Talk about that with Brad Kay. I mean, that could be the case for a Kyle Busch too, right? I mean, he's a guy who says, hey, I really need to get more track time. Maybe he and Andy Street can find a test early in the year next year. Yeah,
so twice in my career. Once I took over for Robbie Loomis to be Jeff Gordon's crew chief, and we went to Atlanta to test, and we tested a lot of aero things. But more than anything, Jeff, it was just, you go run, talk to me as a crew chief. I'm going to lean my head in the window, have the conversation. You kind of look and learn each other. Same thing when I became Dale Jr.'s crew chief. We went to back then, we didn't even have to go to tracks. We went down like just Greenville Pickens, just a little short track. We just ran laps, and it was just
eye-to-eye contact.
Yeah,
there's something about it, right, Steve?
There is. It's just something about. You can learn a lot about the emotion of someone's voice if you work with them long enough.
Jeff, we have the most laps run in this session with Justin Haley at 40, and I'm noticing a migration to the top, to the very top of the wall here at Vegas. Was that what you expected?
Yeah, that's you know, one thing about this racetrack is you can run all over the race. You can run all over it. I think we'll see cars at the bottom. We'll see them at the top. We'll see them all over the place. We talked earlier about the bumps in 1 and 2. Some guys will be able to navigate those better than others. But the reason the races have been so good at this racetrack and some other mile and a half is look across the racetrack. It's grooves everywhere. You can run everywhere. That means you can go somewhere and try to make passes. Maybe a little bit too close for Chastain here.
The problem is you make Steve's job harder with things like this, Jeff.
You know, just see loose.
Oh, wow.
Got the corner. I think it was sideways when he was entering, and at that point, you're along for the ride. Danielle, what you got?
Yeah, and you see the team guys, they're working down here. After that last run, when Ross just hit the wall, they said, bring it in, let's take a look at it. I'm looking at this right rear, a bit more significant damage than you would have initially thought, so the team's working on it. Obviously, with 45 seconds left in practice, not going to get back out, but P1 on the board while he was out there.
Checking the right rear toe right here, just making sure everything's right. That was a little bit harder hit than I anticipated.
Did it get the seam right there, Steve?
You can't really tell from this angle. The wheel doesn't look too damaged, but it hit hard enough that they had to mess with the toe.
It's funny, at the shop, they measure everything with thousandths of an inch and lasers and all kinds of stuff. And here they take a carpenter string and run it down the side of the car.
That's right.
It's good.
Does that work, Steve?
Oh, yeah.
Just as good?
Yeah, well, I don't even know just as good, but it's your only option at this point.
Good enough.
That's all we used to have.
I know it's hard to believe, but I've told drivers the whole time, you know, we loaded up what we thought was the best.
Right.
I know you might not have liked it, but we had 6 days to get it to this, so just bear with me.
Not my problem. We made it the best we could in the race shop. Red and black flags out for Group 1. Ross Chastain, the fastest overall. When we come back, it'll be time for Group B, and that means all of the playoff drivers. Yes, Joey Logano is still alive. Chase Briscoe's had a fantastic playoff. Can they pull it off and come from below the cut line? Christopher Bell below the cut line as well. And it's tight at the top. All of these drivers separated by just
warnings that I was too fast entering 3 a couple laps before. And for our Tootsie Chevy, felt okay as I cleaned it off up there. And being in Group A, there's not as many guys that are moving around. So, yeah, it was just exploring and end of the tire life. The Goodyear Eagles are pretty much worn out. A slight bit of cording on the right rear and way less on the right front, but was pretty loose. And just, I had a warning the lap before, and I moved down my entry at 3, but I didn't slow down, so broke traction and went up hit the fence. So curious to see how much damage the one team says we have, but it feels really good to be back in the car.
That's why the fans love Ross Chastain. He pushes it every single lap, every chance he can, Dylan.
And we'll get Austin Cindric's feedback as well at the conclusion of group number 1. So we heard some radio transmissions, just saw you talking with Paul Wolf and Brian Wilson, your crew chief. What was your feedback about your car on that long run there?
Yeah, I mean, definitely good to get a long run and some more laps on the tires there. But no, I think there's definitely some margin to make our Auto Trader Menards Ford Mustang quite a bit better. Definitely didn't fire off or hold on as well as I would have liked to, and feel like some of this wind here is definitely disconnected both ends of the racetrack. So a bit tricky conditions as you kind of normally have here for whatever reason. But yeah, hopefully make some gains on their run and see if we can learn something.
Thanks, Austin. Yeah, it has been blustery, as Steve described it during the breakdown here with these wind conditions. We heard Ross mention the cording as well. There was some on the 2 car as well, both the right front and the right rear. Right rear a little bit more significant cording there on the inside edge for the 2 car.
Yeah,
Interesting, Steve.
Yeah, I think the wear is to be expected, and the wind disconnecting the corner doesn't shock me. It's straight down the back stretch, so probably really loose into 3 or making your car super unhooked into 3. Probably feels like an absolute champ driving into turn 1. That thing has so much downforce on it.
Superman with that wind pushing you down the front stretch. Hey, the round of 8 kicks off here at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. First ticket to Phoenix in the Championship 4 up for grabs tomorrow afternoon. Then it's Talladega. at the top of the stack. I mean, Steve made the point earlier. It's really flipped upside down. There is no room at the top. I mean, Denny Hamlin has an 8-point cushion over the cut line. That's insane. We've never had it this tight before to start the round of 8.
Well, it makes the opportunity to advance into the final championship 4 with mistakes almost impossible. I mean, if you, with no more advantage than you have to be afraid of coming here or going to Talladega or going to Martinsville and making mistakes. And sometimes when you are trying hard to not make mistakes, you end up not being your own self, not performing the way you normally do. And I think that's the key to experience, right? Is understanding, hey, let's just go be us. Unless you're not good enough, then you got to change something. But I think Denny Hamlin, he and Christopher Bell, they feel like, hey, we're good enough. Blaney, let's just go be us. Let's don't make mistakes, don't beat ourselves.
I have no idea what they're doing. If you get ready to ask me what they're doing, I don't know.
No, I was gonna. Yeah, they're going slow. They're taking
what
care
they're
of
doing
tires
is
like Ross Chastain did.
The back of the pack. The back of the pack is just leaving pit road. So what they're doing is they don't want to catch the back of the pack. Everybody left pit road kind of out of sync. So Denny's just kept everybody slowed down so he can get clean laps without catching the back.
What I wanted to ask you about, Steve, was the position Joey Logano's in. I spent some time with Paul Wolfe this morning, and he said, yeah, we have to win. I don't question it at all. We have to win in the round of 8 if we want to advance to the championship 4. Do you agree with that assessment, being 24 below the cut line?
I think all 8 drivers should believe that. I think all 8 drivers should have to think it takes a win. I have zero doubt that one of the 8 wins here, one of the 8 wins in Martinsville. Little unsure about Talladega, but I just think you have to believe that because it could only be one that gets in on points. So, while it may not come to fruition, I do believe you have to have that mindset. And of course, if you're Joey Logano's team that starts at 24 points below, you're the one that's going to need to win the most. Now, look, we had seen chaos out here before, and if we have a chaotic race and people have trouble, then the 22 might find themselves right back in the mix. But until that happens, I think you got to just be honest with what you have.
Well, this team right here has won 4 of these opening rounds of 8 races of the last 7 years. So if anybody knows how to get it done and has the experience to do it, you're riding with them.
This team certainly knows how to get it done in the round of 8. And you mentioned that, Jeff. 2 out of the last 4 years, they've won this race and put themselves in the championship 4, Steve.
And they always find a different way to do it. Last year, the 20 was hands down the most dominant car here, had the best car, but the 22 of Joe Logano stretched his fuel tank and went to victory lane. And that's what makes the 22 so dangerous, is that when they have the best car, they're really hard to beat. And when they don't have the best car, they find themselves to put themselves in the picture, find a way to put themselves in the picture, which is very difficult.
And that race right there is why Christopher Bell, will tell you winning is what's important. He talks about it last year. He did not make the championship 4, and he had the chance to win that race and didn't win it. And that's one of the reasons that he wasn't in it. So if you get a chance to win, you have to execute on it.
You see the playoff drivers left-hand side of your screen highlighted in the yellow, and I'll go back to that Bell statement, Jeff. When we met with the drivers before the playoffs started, that is the first thing Christopher Bell sat down and told us, is that the one thing I know about the playoffs is that you have to win in the round of 8. And I let one go in Vegas last year. So it was clearly on his mind before the playoffs even started, this race.
Well, he had the sting of last year also, right? Sure. Not only that, but what happened to him in Martinsville, because he felt like he was in pretty decent shape at Martinsville to get in as well. And so the two things combined just got his attention. Like, anything can happen, you have to win. And that eliminates the strange stuff from keeping you out.
Bell has won the pole, finished second in the last 2 fall Las Vegas races, but not won either one, obviously. Led 216 laps in those 2 races. Clearly knows how to put himself in position to win this race, but hasn't been able to finish it off yet.
Well, these 8 drivers have won 22 races. So expecting them to win, and let's take SVG out. He's won 5, an amazing 5 races on the road course, but I don't think we believe he has a heavy chance, right? So these 22 plus his 5, now 27 of the wins, right? Like, yeah, winning. It's gonna take a win.
I love this shot. said I loved it, and Sean turned it off.
Sean Owens, our director, did come in your ear and say, sorry about that, Jeff.
I don't think he cared.
Could have turned it back on.
Yeah.
Good battle right here, though. You can see 22 is not taking off with speed. Down in 28 fastest, the slowest of all the guys that are in the round of 8.
Tell you who has taken off the speed is William Byron. And Steve, I wanted to start this conversation with, where's William Byron been in these playoffs? 2 top 10s, that's it. And yet here they show up in Vegas where Williams said, we have to hit the round of 8. We have to elevate our game. Can you just turn it on like a switch? Maybe you can. They're second quickest here in this practice.
Well, they have been chasing Penske and Penske's model. Penske's model is be really, really, really good when it really, really, really matters. And I think Hendrick Motorsports is aggressive all year long. They want to win races. They're built on winning races, but I do believe they have learned that from February to November is a very long year. You're going to have ups and downs for sure, but can you maybe temper and make sure the ups are at the right time, which is at this point of the season, Dylan?
Yeah, and just to expand on that, William made some comments to the media this week. He said, October is the most important time of the year, but you've got to start peaking kind of as this round of 8 starts. We've seen that obviously with Joey Logano, as you talked about, and maybe some signs of some positivity here for the 24. I spoke with William earlier. He said, I feel like this is our best mile-and-a-half racetrack as a group at the 24. We always seem to unload fast. Their concern was just making sure that they had the balance right with this different tire. So far, it seems like it's pretty good. Byron's on a 10-lap run right now and doesn't seem to be showing any signs of letting up anytime soon.
The last 5 finishes in Vegas were a 4th, a 4th, a 10th, a 7th, and a 1st back in 2023. With some stage wins scattered in there, laps led in every single race, laps inside the top 10. You know, you're looking at at least 150 of 200 every single race except for one kind of anomaly back in March of 24. So, you know, you have to win, but if you don't and you come here and you score 40-something points, man, that's a pretty, you know, if you can't be the winner, you still want to have just a monster point day.
Jeff, how about his teammate Kyle Larson? Always a threat here at Vegas, but he's on pit road pretty soon.
Yeah, they only ran 6 laps and came down pit road. Let's listen to what they're talking about.
Pretty loose through 1 and 2. I don't know if you want me to keep going or come in.
You can come to it.
I'm coming in. I'm too loose. 1 and 2.
So that right there is, you know, as a crew chief, you want to go out and run all the laps consecutive because that's how you learn the most. But the driver's like, hey, look, I am too loose. Well, you want me to come in? And you could hear him kind of saying, I think I ought to come in without ultimately saying it. Finally, he said, I'm coming, right? We got to make a change. We got to make this better.
I like what Cliff Daniels said, though. It wasn't just, yeah, bring it in. It wasn't. So, you know, I read a lot of what you don't hear, right? And what I'm saying is, it wasn't disappointment. It wasn't frustration. It was just, hey, I'm leading this organization. I'm leading this race team. You say it's too loose. I believe you come in. I know he didn't say all that, but that's what I heard. What I heard was a very succinct, yeah, come on in. Like, it's okay. Let's work on it, right? And I know that seems small, but to your point, Jeff, you can see this as a failure, or you can see this, hey, no big deal, part of practice.
Can I just comment that I love black and gold race cars?
Oh, it's a good-looking car.
It is a great-looking car for Kyle Larson this weekend. Zach Brown Band going to be at the Sphere in December and January. Man, that car looks phenomenal.
That sounds like a road trip.
Yeah.
Road trip back.
As Larson heads back out on the racetrack, Jeff.
Yeah, hoping that they made some changes that made this car better. Right in front of him is Ryan Blaney. And I got to tell you, I'm not seeing a lot out of Penske right now that excites me. If I'm a Penske fan. Blaney is sitting there 17 fastest, just ran a 31 flat. William Byron is a 30-80. So this 12 car historically is the fastest of the Penske cars. But
Tomorrow will be the tell, and we'll see if there's anything left.
Paul Wolf told me this morning that both he and Joey Logano and John
competitive, and I guarantee I'll go out on a limb and say the 12 car is going to run well tomorrow. You know, I'll go out on a limb and say that. But they do have some challenges. They're not exactly like they want to be right now.
Started at the back of the field here in the spring and got the top 10 before he got in a late race wreck. How about Chase Briscoe, Steve? I find this team fascinating. Nobody's gained more points in the playoffs than the 19. Yet they constantly find themselves in this weird points position. And I talked with James Small earlier today, and he said, listen, I think just like Paul Wolf, we have to win in this round. But James went further and said, I think it needs to happen tomorrow because I can't rely on Talladega. Martinsville has not been a strong track for us, and I think this could be our best track in the round of 8.
I think the 19 for me is the hardest to handicap of all of the 8 just because he's in year 1 at Gibbs. And I think him driving other equipments, I know he's in the playoff at SHR, that doesn't really help me. I just don't know where the blue sky is for the 19. It's very high. The guy can qualify lights out. I think he's learning the equipment. He's learning his team. His team is learning him. They're continuing to improve. Just can all that get matched up at this right time of the season? I think the answer could be yes or no. I really don't know, Jeff. I have a hard time putting my finger on exactly where I think this team lands.
Executing on pit stops, on pit road, right? You gotta find a way to make an improvement there. The way I see it. But his pace is pretty good. His pace is pretty good right here. The race pace of this 19 car is very, very competitive. See the 21 car right there, a Penske affiliation. This 19 car with more laps on his tires, well, about the same lap, but easily passing him. So I'm just concerned about where Penske is right now.
At minus 14 for the 19, Jeff, do you think that's must-win territory?
Well, let me tell you, there's going to be at least one person that gets into the championship round with a chance to win the championship without winning a race. So, yes, I think the mentality that you have to win is what you need to do. But the reality is, no, you don't have to win. You have 3 races to make up that many points. And if you have pace and speed, you can get it done. Now, you do have Talladega, and anything can happen there. So I think that must-win mindset is healthy. But the reality of it is somebody is going to get in without having a win.
Danielle, you have more on Chase Briscoe?
Yeah, I talked to competition director Chris Gabehart this morning, Marty, and he said, I think Chase Briscoe is the most dangerous driver in the playoffs. And I asked, why is that? And he said, guys like Denny Hamlin that have only a short number of years left to win a title, or a Larson or an Elliott that have so much pressure to perform, a Blaney. He said, I'll use a Vegas term. Chase Briscoe's playing with house money. He's here at Joe Gibbs. He's exceeding expectations. He's footloose and fancy-free, and I think that mentality with not having so much pressure to have to win a title right now makes him very lethal.
I can see that approach. I can see that theory. Coach is on premise, though. Keeping an eyeball on his cars. I love it. And Doc, look, we talk about the playoff guys. We kind of ignored the kid that's at the top of the chart, which is grandson. Ty Gibbs is really, really fast as well, which is a good sign, right? When your non-playoff car comes out, that's just great information for the playoff cars. If this car's out there, you go, look at what he's saying, what he has for a setup, what's he running for air pressure. Maybe Ty Gibbs is like, yeah, keep talking about the playoffs. Maybe this is the week I get my first win.
Well, see, the one that's not so happy is Denny. You know, Denny took off with really good pace, 4th fastest, but as they've run, the 19 car got to Denny, passed him, and he has put a quarter of a straightaway on him. So this 11 car, it is not exactly like he wants it to be right now.
So that may answer the question I was going to ask both of you. You know, Kansas was just 2 weeks ago. It was all about the Toyotas until it wasn't, and Chase Briscoe stole the win. Are we going to see that tomorrow afternoon?
I don't think Kansas and Las Vegas, other than being a mile and a half and on the same tire, that's where the similarities end. 1 and 2 here is more banking, and it's rougher. 3 and 4, it's just a different style of racetrack. You carry way more throttle here. Watch the throttle trace. Right back to the gas versus the Kansas. Maybe on the old tires we'll slip and slide around, but this just seems to be a little bit more throttle committed to Kansas.
See his teammate behind him, Ty Gibbs. Let's see how they look around this corner. Ty Gibbs to the bottom, Denny in the middle of the racetrack. But right here is where I feel like Denny's struggling a little bit. Just cannot carry the speed on corner exit. So he's running the middle of the racetrack over here. But just doesn't look like he has a rolling speed. Steve, and that hurts his exit.
Yeah, the whole thing just looks a little slow to react, like you're saying, right? Like the fronts just don't get exactly where he points them right away. Like right here, you see his hands get really quiet. It just looks like it's just a little tight.
Even tires as well. They're both 27 laps into a run and haven't come to pit road yet.
Yeah, they're not terrible. You know what I mean? I'm not saying 11 is terrible. He's actually, as this run has gone on, I think he's gotten a little better compared to other guys. But I do think Ty is quicker.
And remember, Jeff, that was their strength at Kansas 2 weeks ago. The long run for the 11 car is really what paid off for them. Speaking of Kansas, how about Chase Elliott? Stole the win from those Toyotas. And Steve, you know, Chase has talked about it. It all comes back to qualifying for this team. And here he is, third fastest on the board in practice.
Yeah, the only top 5 qualifying effort during the playoffs for Chase was Kansas, and he kind of stayed there, ran top 5 in the stages, and ended up winning the race. And I think today for this 19 doesn't have to be the pole. Practice has done it. He's third quick. I think, to your point, Jeff, you can kind of throw a blanket over 7 or 8 cars. I don't see a standout, all very good cars. Now, later here today, in a windy situation, Chase just needs to get that lap. Doesn't have to be the pole, but, you know, single digits, top 12. You can't be 24th or 26th and think you're just going to throw the first stage away. And you said it, Chase knows it.
Alan Gustafson told me he agrees with kind of what we've talked about with Hendrick. They really feel like this is probably their best mile and a half, Steve, you know, and to your point, even though Chase won at Kansas, a lot different than Kansas because it's the rough racetrack, and their theory was the field will be a lot tighter than it was at Kansas. Like there'll be more cars in the mix for the win versus the Toyota domination that we saw 2 weeks ago.
Well, I'll give Alan credit. You know, he put Chase on 4 tires, and Chase in that restart, starting outside the top 8 there, I think it was, what, 10th, outside row 5. He just kind of kept his momentum up. Everybody else kind of found a way to lose it on momentum, and he just kind of, you know, kept rolling his way through the field.
It's the only way they were going to win the race, beat those guys in front of them. They didn't have the pace at the point, you know, to be able to do anything different. So I thought it was a great call by Alan Gustafson to put him on 4 tires.
So far, practice is about exactly like I would expect. All the playoff cars have shown up. Jeff has pointed it out, and I agree, the Penske cars on raw speed alone are the furthest behind. The other 6 are all inside the top 10. You're on board here with Denny. You see he's backing into his spot after a 30-lap run. Danielle.
Yeah, Steve, a 30-lap run for Denny Hamlin, and he's not happy with the car. Take a listen.
Listen, I'm really fighting it. I'm really fighting it.
After that, he said, guys, I can't take any more. And they said, all right, bring it in. Kind of surprising, given how good Denny Hamlin is and Gibbs as a whole at this racetrack.
So I thought he was tight because the quiet hands, but it sounds like he's loose, like he just doesn't dare turn the wheel. Right. His hands are quiet because he doesn't dare turn left. It's going to spin out.
Right.
And you heard him. You know, he's working. He's out of breath.
Interesting, as Denny has come in after what winds up being a 30-lap run.
Don't look now. There's going to be another guy to upset the playoff field. He's really good.
I was going to ask you about how Bubba Wallace has been. Traditionally not one of the better mile and a half, Steve, but this is what this team has done. They have really shown up with improved speed at tracks where they traditionally have struggled, and Vegas would certainly be in that category.
Yeah, I've been impressed with Bubba here in the playoffs. That big win at Indy let him enter the playoffs kind of free-spirited. And I thought even when the chips kind of fell the wrong way, he still stayed positive, and you know, he was in it, right? He was in it until the last corner in Kansas when it just fell apart for him, and Chase Elliott kind of got through.
If there's a most improved driver in 2025, does he get your vote, Jeff?
Oh, look, I think I have been really impressed with him this year, and I've said it multiple times, and the reason why is because, you know, I can't tell the difference in pace between he and Tyler Reddick. And Tyler Reddick is fast. He's considered to be one of the fastest drivers on the racetrack. And so when Tyler came over here, I'm like, okay, we're gonna, you know, Bubba's gonna have to step up, and we're gonna see what he's made of, and he has answered it. He's had a very strong year.
I would argue faster than Reddick, 4 times than not, which is saying something because Reddick is a speed machine.
Yeah, the 2311 car is pretty good. You see Bubba Wallace there in 5th, Tyler Reddick in 6th, obviously both being eliminated from the playoffs at the Roval last week.
Really, it's what I expected. So look, we have 6 cars really, really fast. The Penske cars need more speed. And now you're going to have to go try to run all day long and not mess any of that up. And then it's, you know, we talk a lot about the pressure of the playoffs for the drivers, but it's going to be pit crews, engineers, spotters, the teams that are racing around them. And really, this is when I feel like the vice for these drivers. Now, look, everyone felt the playoffs, you know, a few weeks ago, but for these 8 that are all thinking they're championship form material, this is when I think it becomes real. Like, it's right there. You win here, and boom, you're in it.
So, Steve, what I see so far, I know there's still just over 3 minutes left to go, but I think the best is the 24 car. I think he has the most long run speed, second fastest overall. From what I see, you know, 31 laps, 31.20. I don't really see anybody else that can run that pace on that many laps. Now, I will say this, Logano has gotten better. We're riding around with Logano. I did not think he was as good early in this run, but now 26 laps and you're running 31 laps. That's pretty competitive. But overall, I like the 24 car.
I think the 24 car out of the Chevy camp. I like the 19 car out of the Toyota camp.
Interesting.
I think the 19 is really good as well.
Not Bell?
Well, Bell's not bad. I think the 19's a little better.
But if you look at William Byron, to Jeff's point, fastest in 5 lap, 10 lap, 15 lap averages. And
now, look, when I say a little better, it could be one extra pass on the racetrack for Bell. Like, they're almost on top of one another for Bell and the 19.
And we have a few cars that have come in and pitted and made changes, and they've gone out. It's hard to compare to those lap times.
Marty's asking a lot of questions, like he's going down to the sports book. He wants to know who he thinks that. He's asking real pointed questions on who he thinks is going to be really good here.
Hey, we're in Vegas, Steve. Why not? You know, I had an interesting conversation with Rudy Fugle as William Byron comes in, Steve, and he made the point to me at Kansas. They were so far off. And he said, we learned what not to do when we were at Kansas. Is that a fair point as a crew chief? Sometimes the best thing to learn is what not to do.
Well, they opened the hood and they got it better. If they hadn't got it better, I'd be like, man, are you sure? But he knew what knobs to turn to bring them right back into the ball game for sure. And I ran into Rudy today. They failed the first time through. No big deal. A lot of cars do it. But he's always so personable. And he like stopped. And I kind of looked at him. I said, hey, man, you got a second? Or you got to go back through? And he goes, and he really wanted to say, yes, let's chat. But the look in his face was like, you know what? You don't have to answer that. I'm going to come back and see you later. And my point is, he was ready. Like, he was tuning up. He was turned up. He was ready for the weekend. I love to see the intensity kind of in the crew chief's faces.
We mentioned Kyle Larson back out after that early trip to pit road for an extremely free race car. Jeff, seeing any improvement in the 5 machine?
Yeah, I think his pace is pretty good. Again, he's on a cycle higher, which makes it difficult to compare, but I definitely think he's very competitive.
Man, I haven't been to the Sphere, but this sounds like a pretty good time right here. This paint scheme's gonna be interesting.
You queuing up? I love the paint scheme. There's the Sphere, Wizard of Oz in the afternoon, and the Eagles at night.
Yeah, my wife went to Wizard of Oz, said it was amazing. So now I got to talk her back into coming back out and going to Zach Brown. I've seen him once in concert, put on an amazing show. Why not do it at the Sphere?
Well, that's funny because Dylan Welch went to the Eagles last night. We had it all covered.
Oh.
Trish went to see Wizard of Oz, and Dylan went to go see the Eagles. So
what am I doing wrong? I just went to dinner.
I don't know. You missed out on all the fun.
Well, you don't know that.
Jeff, that's a heck of a point by you. Denny Hamlin backed out after a trip to pit road. We'll see if they can make any improvements to the 11 car. Just under a minute to go.
With these short practices, you really hate to have to pit and make changes to the car, but if you do, it's really important to make a change and it be positive, because now that means you kind of have an idea. Is Denny hit pit road, practicing, making sure he backslides?
He missed it.
Yeah, he did. Went around the orange box. That would have been a penalty.
That was a little too far. Here's what it looked like from on top of the roof.
Yeah, just trying to max out his entry speed, and he's just in too far, and he can't make it. If he did that tomorrow, he'd have to just keep digging, go around the racetrack. But all this is part of pushing it, right? You've been here a lot. You know the car. You know your braking zones. You know your visuals. What if we try to go a little bit further? What would happen Obviously, he tried to max it out, and just now he backs it back to what he knows will work. But if you don't try to get in there a little bit difficult, a little bit harder, with more pace, you never will get there.
Practice is over for all the playoff cars. You can see William Byron top of the 5-lap average. Las Vegas and Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Always fun in town, but the pressure will be here at the track tomorrow afternoon.
There's something important I need to tell you. I should have said this a long time ago. Now that I caught that, you're eligible to become a member of Navy Federal Credit Union. I can't hear you. Because I'm an Army veteran, our whole family can join and get great benefits, like exclusive savings and discounts. Exclusive savings and discounts! That's great! Also, I love you. Thank you.
All veterans and their families can join. Navy Federal Credit Union. Our members are the mission.
Okay, Brian, craziest touchdown ever.
Tennessee Titans, Music City Miracle.
Tyson snags it, starts running like he's double parked. What does a play like that do to the locker room?
Man, it's everything.
That's it? Where's Shaq? Is Shaq available?
Really?
Yeah, because he's not going to say it's everything. Or if he did say it, he'll go,
New customers bet $5 to get $200 if your bet wins. Paid instantly in bonus bets. The crown is yours.
I stand alone with fire inside. This heart's a drum. I won't subside. Against the odds, I'll rise again. With passion burning in my veins.
With the new IHOP value menu, $6 is
this massive tailwind all the way down the backstretch. How does that affect the car going into turn 3, and how will that affect these qualifying laps when you're already so much on the edge?
Well, it's literally going to push the car down the back straightaway, and then that's going to make navigating turn 3 very difficult, and it's going to be trying to shove the car out of the racetrack in the middle of 3 and 4. Now, the opposite is the case in 1 and 2. The car is going to drive really good over there. You're going to be able to drive the car into the corner deep. The car is going to get a ton of side force put on it. So it's going to be good on one end of the racetrack and bad on the other. And the interesting thing we heard William Byron say is, I have to factor that in as I'm telling these guys what they need to do to make this race car better. The wind's not blowing as hard tomorrow. Am I going to send them in the wrong direction? You know, the teams can only work on the car from what the driver's giving them. If you give them the wrong information, then it could be a long day on Sunday.
Yeah, I think the pole sitter is going to be determined in 3 and 4 today. I think 1 and 2, they're going to run the middle. The wind's going to really help them. It's down here with this wind sailing you off in there, not overcooking the entry, missing the bottom. I think Yaley was aiming for the bottom there. Car just wouldn't get there.
Yaley completes his lap. He'll make his 9th start of the year. And just to clarify, see, there's nothing you can do to help your driver with this win. You just got to pat him on the back and say, have fun, buddy.
Well, yeah, just make sure he's aware of it, right? Make sure that he knows it's there, which they all obviously do. But other than that, I'm not sure there's a whole lot I can do.
Yeah, I will say that the one thing that the crew chief can do is, like he just said, is remind me getting into 3.
Yeah,
like,
right.
Do not overdrive 3.
Catherine Legg will make her 7th start of 2025, her first at a 1.5 miles in the Cup Series.
To your point, Jeff, right now, before I've seen any really pole contending cars go, I would imagine I would tell you this is the spot on the racetrack I need you to maybe go easier than you think you want to. The wind is going to act, the driver's sense of speed is going to be less. The air feel, the air noise, everything, it's just going to cook you off down in there. You know, if you have a 20-mile-an-hour tailwind, that means you have 20 miles an hour less drag slowing the cars down when you turn down into the corner. It's a big difference.
Joey Logano had an interesting practice session. Danielle, I think you've caught up with him.
Yeah, P28 overall for the defending Cup champion, Joey Logano, and defending winner of this fall Vegas race. Joey, what's your takeaway now that you jumped out of the car for practice?
I think we're not that far off. I think you said something about 28, but I actually think we're decent. The first run we were maybe a little further off, but made some changes to get the balance a little bit closer. So feel okay about the Shell Pencil Mustang, and we'll see what qualifying brings. It's really windy, and this tire is quite a bit less grip than what we've had here qualifying in the past. So that'll change it up a little bit, but I think we're in the game.
Joey, do you realize that you won the opening round of 8 race in all 3 of your championship seasons? No pressure, buddy.
Yes, I do know that. Pretty important day.
The mathematics of it all for Joey Logano, Marty.
Yeah, he knows how to make it happen in this race and move on to the championship for the hometown kid, Riley Herbst, with a nice lap. We ride on board with a 51 car, Cody Ware, a little Arby's steak nuggets bringing us this view. Love that spoiler cam.
Look at that throttle time. Compared down here to 3 and 4, probably out of throttle a little more down here.
Back to the throttle pretty quickly. Wasn't able to go full throttle and stay there. Steak nuggets, that's a new thing?
Yeah, new thing for Arby's. How about that? They go inside the race with HBO Max, home of the NASCAR Driver Cam, presented by DraftKings Sportsbook and Straight Talk Wireless. Access every in-car camera with real-time driver data, multi-view options, and full team audio. Watch NASCAR Driver Cam all season long, only on HBO Max. After the rough efforts and result at the Roval, Brad Keselowski with an early qualifying effort.
A lot of racetrack on the exit of turn 2.
After Logano was talking about the reduction of grip, I was trying to see the pole spring of this year. Now it's a much cooler day. It was a 28.88. So that's a second and a quarter off our fast time right now. So obviously, you know, the weather's one thing, but there's no way the weather's over a second. So this tire that Goodyear's brought definitely is adjusting that what the teams have to do.
Yeah, I found that comment interesting as well. So does that make turn 3 even more challenging wind, all of that. Less grip, as Joey mentioned, for the drivers, Jeff.
For sure. I mean, anytime you have a challenge and then doing it with less grip, it just becomes more difficult. Kyle Busch with a good lap so far. Came to the green really well. Had a really nice 1 and 2.
Talked about the speed this team had in practice in green here in qualifying over Riley Herbst.
Yeah, but see him up the racetrack, trying to go back to the throttle, and the car just would not stay in the lane he wanted to.
Still goes to the top at a 30.090, Dylan.
Top of the board at 30.09.
So we heard about the struggles with the 5-car and Kyle Larson, the free condition they were battling in practice. Guys did a couple cycles on your tires as well and tried to get it better, but do you feel like you got an idea of where you're at as you get ready to qualify here?
Not really. It was really, I mean, just loose feeling. I don't know what everybody else is feeling, but yeah, I felt just bouncy and loose and hard to enter the corner with speed and confidence. So yeah, and then now you got to go commit here in qualifying probably. So yeah, we'll see. But yeah, we'll keep working on it. And I think if it's less windy tomorrow too, it'll be different. So it's getting really windy. So I think that's playing a big factor.
Yeah, the wind has picked up even more just in these early qualifiers than it was at the end of the practice. So definitely a story to follow.
Noah Gregson to the top by a decent amount. Austin Cindric on the track. So let's talk about what Kyle Larson had to say there, Jeff. I mean, it's never got to be a good feeling kind of with so many question marks going into qualifying and then go out there with so much commitment like Kyle was talking about.
Well, as he was talking about it, I reminded myself I'm 58 and I'm glad I'm up here.
There's a reason you're in the news.
Because that's what race car drivers have to deal with. Like he's talking about bouncy, no grip, winds blowing, and now I got to go drive the car even way harder than what I drove it in practice because it's a faster pace in qualifying. And where do you know and how do you know the car is going to have grip? You don't. You just have to trust that it's going to have it.
And if wind is your drinking word, you might not make the Xfinity race later today. Because every driver is saying it because it is top of mind.
Well, it's top of mind, Steve. I mean, they left the racetrack. They know they've sat on pit road. It's even picked up in the last few minutes, as Dylan just mentioned. So they know it's going to be even more of a challenge in a situation when they have to go even a little bit harder, as Jeff was mentioning. Nice Phillies green paint scheme, the camo for Ty Dillon. He battles the wind into 3. I just find it fascinating that you don't really know where to lift going into turn 3, Jeff, You don't know how hard to push it,
well, I can drive it in there and lift and know I'm not going to wreck and I'm going to qualify about 38, or I can go try to find a limit and maybe I can fill the pole. I mean, that's the problem. Ty Dillon, that's all it looked like to me. He was really loose. Center 1 and 2, you could kind of see the back of the car moving around a lot.
Eric Jones takes the green here at Vegas for his qualifying lap. 30th last week at the Roval in green so far.
Yeah, nice set of corners right there. Pretty even down the backstretch. Didn't really give anything up. If anything, gained a little bit. He's going to run a little lower. I like this right around the bottom. See if it works on exit.
Yeah, it did.
There you go.
Gaining time. Maybe the bottom's the best way around 3 and 4. Eric Jones to the top.
That's what Jeff and I figured out in the pace car. Middle of 1 and 2, bottom of 3 and 4.
Maybe you should have taken your notes, guys.
That guard dog sure is lucky he has Simply Safe.
Word on the street is that Simply Safe has proactive monitoring. The AI outdoor camera can alert live agents of a crime before it starts, not after, unlike other security systems.
Stop, this is Simply Safe. Police are on the way.
Must be nice.
Shh, keep it down. I'm trying to nap here. Simply Safe. Real security stops crime before it starts.
There's no safe like Simply Safe.
Domino's Best Deal Ever is back because we know you love to get the most out of your pizza by getting the most on your pizza. Get any hand-tossed, pan, thin crust, or New York-style pizza with any toppings for just $9.99 online. Get extra without paying extra.
afraid of heights. Y'all are going to go to the top of the stratosphere. I noticed no comment from you, Jeff.
I am not afraid of heights.
I understand that.
As long as there's a snake, not a snake up high.
I'm with you. I'm with you.
What if it's heights and there's a snake?
Well, that's when I got a problem. That's why I don't mountain climb.
Carson Hocevar.
No climbs in the desert.
Ward mountain climbs, though. You know? Yeah.
Well,
he doesn't mind the snake.
That's a whole other story.
All right, let's see how Carson Hocevar navigates the wind here at Vegas. Some good speed in practice, but not showing green so far.
Big throttle commitment, yet the speed not there. You wonder if the car's a little draggier or if just, maybe a little more bound up, allows him to stay. Now, at this end of the racetrack, he's definitely out of the throttle a little more than the 43 was. Really nice corner exit, though. He's gaining some back all the way down the straightaway.
Maybe people did actually take y'all's notes
from
the pace car ride. Middle of 1 and 2 and the bottom of 3 and 4, Danielle.
Let's see what mental notes Cup Series champion Ryan Blaney is taking watching qualifying so far. Ryan, what are you picking up on before you go out here and make a lap? What will it take to put it on the pole?
Yeah, just looking and kind of seeing what lane everyone's running and what the speed's what it's gonna take, right? Kind of knowing what you have to run and basing that off of what you ran in practice, how much is the pickup. So yeah, hopefully we tweaked on our stuff a little bit. I got a little bit of work to do, but got faith in the 12 boys. Hopefully we can go lay down the lap. I'll tell you, wind is gusting like crazy out here. If people on TV seeing the flags or things like that, it's changing all the time. So that's been making it pretty tough down the backstretch into 3, and you see a lot of guys with their hands full. Hopefully, like I said, we don't have as much of a handful as some of these guys, but that's why we do it. And yeah, looking forward to getting out there and see what we got.
Your hair's doing a little bit of whipping in the breeze too,
right? Yeah. That's why I grew it out, to understand what the wind is doing, and then I can judge if there's no flags out there. So yeah, it's good.
Any advantage you can find nowadays, Marty?
The mullet is multi-purposeful. You can see the wind direction. So Steve, do we have to drink every time the word wind is said, or just each set of times the word wind is mentioned?
Listen, everybody has to have their own rules.
Well, what are the rules? You're the one who put the game out there. I'm just wondering what the rules are.
Yeah.
Of the game. Because if it's every time wind is mentioned, we're in trouble.
Well, and you heard his true concern, right? And he was even trying to relate it for the fans. He's like, look, if you're seeing the flags, I can tell you from behind the wheel, it makes a big difference. I thought it was a great interview, really kind of just painting out exactly the challenge ahead for these drivers.
Nice lap from Austin Dillon. The 3 car winds up third. John Hunter Nemechek taking the green here at Las Vegas. So, Jeff, we clearly know what's on every driver's mind.
That corner right there, that's pretty downforced up. I didn't see a lot of throttle lift. I bet you're going to see some down here.
See if he gets to the bottom. Didn't get to the white line.
Oh, man.
About 3 feet from where he was trying to get.
Yep, his teammate executed it perfectly, but John Hunter can't match it. Winds up being 4th for John Hunter Nemechek. Dylan, who you found on pit road?
I found Chase Elliott, and top off the glasses up there, Marty, because I'm going to ask Chase about the win. So you've got a teammate that's going out right in front of you at the end of the qualifying order. Everybody's talking about the wind and what it's doing. Is having somebody go out right in front of you, is that an advantage for you that you can lean on for advice or information?
Might be too close. I feel like you want like 4 or 5 maybe in front of you to be able to look at the data. So yeah, I mean, just looking at the trend from practice, not near as many cars seems like they are able to run flat through 3 and 4 and qualifying like we were here in the spring. 1 and 2 is right on the edge. So the wind is just pushing you so hard into 3. But we'll see. Maybe if you hit it perfect, or if the wind dies down for your lap, I think that's definitely something to pay attention to. So, but more importantly, just hope you get your balance adjustments right. To go fast for a lap, and hope we can get our Napa Chevy just a good solid spot, start spot for tomorrow.
They had that in practice. The 9 was 3rd quickest at the end of Group 2.
All right, let's talk about exactly what he means. So down here 1 and 2, he feels that wide open, right on the edge, but possible. You see Zane Smith out of the gas just for a blink. So what Chase is thinking, pole sitter has to be wide open. Now you get down here. Wind is pushing you, and as you turn left, it's kind of like tacking a sail into the wind. It just drives on your door. So now you're going a little too fast, and the wind is trying to push you from getting to that white line. That's why that entry speed is so important. Really nice job by Zane Smith right there. And you know, the problem is if you go in like 10 feet too far, you're just not going to get to the white line. The car's going too fast. It's not, brake's not an option. So it's not like you could use a little bit more brake. You're already only just breathing the throttle a little bit.
Right before Zane Smith went, Custer went to second on the board. He had a good lap.
Yeah, back-to-back nice qualifying effort. Zane Smith fourth, Custer second. Let's see what Ricky Stenhouse Jr. can do.
Pretty high entry. Real aggressive. I think you can get exceptionally aggressive on this end of the racetrack because all the wind that they're discussing, the hurt is over here. The help is in 1 and 2.
Tried to get to the bottom for Stenhouse, lost a little bit of time in doing it, gaining a little bit back as he comes off turn 4, but it'll wind up being 5th for Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Todd Gilliland gonna try a hand at it here today.
These are the days that this car needs to improve, in my opinion. Is qualifying puts them in a hole. They just don't seem to be able to execute on qualifying day. Wasn't able to stay in the line there, way up the racetrack on corner exit. So now he had that problem over there. So how do you adjust over here? That's what you constantly have to do, is recognize what your car will do and what it won't do, and make adjustments during the lap. But this right here, you can see it's going to get him back to 10th fastest with a lot of good cars to go. So that's going to bury them back in the field.
Yeah, this team came in with some high hopes, finished 12th at Kansas a couple of weeks ago, but not the qualifying effort they wanted. We saw Ross Chastain be fastest in Group A. Steve, we'll see what he can do here in qualifying.
Last time on the racetrack, hit the wall going into turn 3, got too loose. That can't be a confidence builder. All these drivers talking about guessing. Ross is just going to sail it off down in here. Has to lose, get out of the gas, climbing the banking, losing, just running out of kind of room, but carried momentum.
See if he can keep it green down here in 3 and 4.
Negative. Oh, he did a good job. He was chopping the gas. I thought he was in trouble. He just hustled that thing all the way around there.
That was an eventful lap.
Good
to
for
be able
him.
to go quickest for Ross Chastain. The playoff drivers coming up here in a bit as qualifying continues from the Las Vegas Motor Speedway on True TV.
The darkness of bipolar depression made me feel like life was moving on without me. Then I found a chance.
Early dementia patients have increased risk of death or stroke. Caplyta is not approved for dementia-related psychosis. Call your doctor about new or sudden mood changes, behaviors, or suicidal thoughts right away. Antidepressants may increase these risks. Report fever, confusion, stiff muscles.
At Caplyta.com.
You can get this fixed now and pay later. You can get this
Alex can do something or feel something that maybe he can report back.
Yeah, what did he tell Dylan? He'd ideally like to have it like 4 or 5 cars in front of him. As Alex goes a little green there. Off
Really
turn 4. Nice
really
3 and 4.
Yeah.
How about that? Impressive 3 and 4 for Alex. Bowman will move him to the top. So back-to-back drivers have
C1 there. Good job.
now taken the provisional pole. As the spring winner here at Las Vegas, Josh Berry will be the next car on the track taking the green.
What a year, really. I mean, we're going to talk, you know, his playoffs couldn't have really gone worse. The poor guy had a couple last place finishes, one kind of their own doing, one not. But just a great year in this 21 car, getting that win early out here in Las Vegas. And I think it's easy to look at the negative, Jeff, but there's been a lot of good runs out of this 21, a lot for Josh to be proud of.
Yeah, look, what happened to them in the playoffs was a disaster, right? But it wasn't all under their control. Sometimes things just happened. Certainly at Darlington, that got away from them. This qualifying lap is certainly not what they wanted, but they have a lot to be proud of from the year, for sure.
12th for Josh Berry out of the 21 cars that have run, and the first of the Penske cars to go. So you got to hope they can find a little bit more speed if you're a Penske fan. Ty Gibbs on the racetrack, Steve, and we're going to learn who could be a pole contender, because Ty Gibbs certainly one of the fastest cars here today.
If practice is any sort of, you know, trend, look at that. That car just turned through the middle of the racetrack and drove right off the bottom.
I bet he stayed away from the wall on the back straightaway.
I wonder if he feels like there's an advantage. There's something to do with the wind there. He was trying to not add drag or reduce more drag. I mean, it felt like it was on purpose, right? He just wasn't randomly down there.
The center of the corner speed is unbelievable. So watch this. Leaves the corner, and he doesn't even have to use the entire racetrack. And then steers away from the race, from the wall.
Interesting.
Like IndyCar-esque.
And very impressive lap for Ty Gibbs. He goes to the top by a decent amount. A.J. Allmendinger now in his qualifying lap. Tell you, I was kind of lost in all the mix last week, Jeff, but A.J. had a nice run. Top 10 really most of the day at the Roval last week.
Yeah, this team has been showing improvements. Second half of the year, I feel like they've been very competitive.
Certainly made their Saturdays a lot better, and that's been a big part of why their Sundays have gone well.
It's a decent lap right here. I know it's 2/10 off, but it's going to put him 5th fastest.
Nice lap for A.J. Allmendinger. As Jeff mentioned, goes 5th fastest. Here's a car that you had your eye on in practice, Steve. Bubba Wallace.
Yeah, I love the speed in this 23. Big, wide 3 and 4 just to get momentum. See if it helps. We'll see if he trends in the green right here going into 1. Barely, but barely is the right direction. Now right here, the 54 turned down across the banking. See the 23 unable. He's kind of pointing up the track a little bit. It's only 200ths, but it all adds up. We'll see if he can make up more down here.
193 miles per hour getting into the corner. Only slows down to 184.
What a 3 and 4.
Man, could he make it happen? Bubba Wallace, so impressive in the back half of the lap. He goes to the top by 5/100ths of a second. Look at that.
What a great work. All good. Yes, all good. A timer agrees. Love it when the driver and the timer agree.
Yeah, Charles Denike with a little head nod there. J.R. Houston, the engineer on that team, happy with the qualifying lap from Bubba Wallace. Here comes Daniel Suarez. Talk about good finishes at the Roval. 7th for that team last week at the Roval. Their first top 10 since Daytona in August.
Yeah, still waiting for news of where Daniel will end up next year. He's not going to be back in this car. And Jeff, I mean, not that I've been prying, but I haven't really heard any whispers or kind of anything. I'm just waiting to see.
Yeah, it's been a quiet, silly season, hasn't it? It really hasn't been a whole lot of action.
No, it's not the year to be shopping just because there's just not a lot of seats that I can pinpoint moving around.
Not a lot of movement, Jeff. When you said that here in the booth, you used air quotes because there really hasn't been a silly season at all, per se.
Well, buckle up. Next year is going to be wild, I think.
Yeah.
Little forecast there, Jeff?
Well, it's a lot of free agents.
Michael McDowell on the track. 5th at the Roval last week. Their first top 5 since Sonoma in July. Much needed for this 71 team. And won the pole for Vegas here in the spring. Not going to be on the pole today for McDowell, but that lap will put him 6th fastest.
We talk about off seasons, and this Spire Motorsports, I'm really interested to see what they do.
Yeah.
There's been, for real investment put into that company, a lot of quality people hired. Can't wait to see what they do in the off season.
Speaking of off season, it's going to be an interesting one for 2311 as well, on and off the racetrack, right? They've got a lot to figure out speed-wise with this race team. Tyler Reddick kind of flirting with the green, though, here on this qualifying effort. Can he knock his teammate off?
Well, if he doesn't, it wasn't from a lack of effort, because there was full commitment in 1 and 2. Oh, it's going to be close.
Oh, man, can he make it happen?
Wow.
No, barely.
Really close, man. P2. Good job.
Barely P2 for Tyler Reddick, Dylan. Danielle?
Yeah, Marty, congratulations are in order for this driver. Ryan Preece and his wife Heather welcomed their second child and first baby boy, Bentley Ryan Preece, on Wednesday. I asked Ryan how fatherhood is going. He said mom and baby are at home. They're doing great. And dad's off to a good start because swaddles have Velcro now. So they didn't for my first kid. I think I can handle this one.
Velcro makes everything easier, doesn't it?
Oh, congratulations to Ryan and family.
And welcome Crumble Cookie to the sport of NASCAR as well. Everybody loves a good crumble cookie, don't they, Steve?
I'm not going to say no.
Yeah, exactly right. Bubba Wallace watches on. Ryan Preece not going to be able to make it happen. He winds up going 6th quickest. His teammate Chris Buescher, talk about good finishes at the Roval, 4th for this race team. And I was dumbfounded, Steve. I had to check it twice. They have the 4th best finishing average among the playoff drivers this year. This team has been stellar at the end of the season. They're just not in the playoff game.
Yeah, I think that's the number one thing that RFK is going to circle. They went from 2 to 3. I thought it was a successful expansion, at the 20,000-foot view. But when you really get down to the granular level of it, they want to be playoff cars, and that's the next step. And that is a big step. Unfortunately, that's a tough step, but it's not due to lack of speed. As you said, their averages are right there. They just didn't quite get the victory lane.
Nice qualifying effort from Chris Buescher. He's 4th so far with the playoff drivers coming up here in just a little bit from Las Vegas. So it's not only us talking about the wind, it's everybody talking about the wind. Look at the social media. The wind is the topic. Unfortunately, it's Steve's drinking game as well.
You deserve the best. At Harbor Freight, you can afford it. We design our own tools with performance and durability in mind, and hire the best engineers to test them for countless hours.
timed right.
Oh, had
No,
to
sir.
come all the way out of it, but he's still green. What a lap for Joey Logano. Oh, ran at the last second.
You just saw
And he goes
so
third.
much commitment.
Losing the line there with the wind, got you.
Man, what an effort. Bubba thought that was done.
That tells me it's out there, though.
Yeah.
Because he really had it. It just didn't work. That tells me that there's a 30 out there, something, 29-30, 29-20 something.
Wide open over here as possible. We've seen multiple people do it.
Oh, yeah, here you go. 29-20 something.
Way in the green for Denny Hamlin. Can he hold it through 3 and 4?
Oh, big arc into 3. Was able to get it on the bottom, leaving the corner. That is a good lap.
What a great lap for Denny Hamlin. Knocks off his driver, Bubba Wallace, by a bunch. Almost a full 2/10 there.
What I liked about that lap was Hamlin got to the white line, but he didn't get to the white line early.
Right.
He stayed out, got to the white line later in the corner.
But don't look now.
Yes, indeed. Here comes the best qualifier in 2025, Chase Briscoe.
Basically on top of Hamlin, a few thousandths away from the wall, much like we saw with Ty Gibbs, trying to reduce that car drag.
Oh, he wasn't able to do what Hamlin did. He tried to get that arc, tried to get to the bottom later, but just wasn't able to get there.
Just short for Chase Briscoe. He winds up second.
P2.
Isn't it crazy how line sensitive it is, Jeff? Just seems like it's a couple feet and that's it.
And it's just about the pace on entry, right? You want to carry as much speed as you can without slowing down too much, but you carry too much speed, you can't get where you want it to get. But if you drive in there easy, then that kills the lap also, because you got to get back in the throttle so quick. You're asking for your car to do something it just can't do on corner exit.
Saw a big jump by Joey Logano from practice to qualifying. What can Ryan Blaney do? Going the wrong direction, coming off 4. See where Blaney stacks up 10th so far.
Yeah, it looked like a clean lap, just not fast. Probably having to just wait on his car to change direction enough.
And here's the driver everybody pointed to, William Byron, fastest on 5:10, 15 lap average. Can he get the pole here at Las Vegas today?
Came to green really good. A little bit off, but not far. Still possible to make it happen. But down here is where I thought Hamlin just did an incredible job.
And you can see that reflected in everybody else's lap time, Jeff.
Yeah, see, Byron did well also, but Hamlin got 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 right.
Third for William Byron. Here's his teammate Chase Elliott. And just so you know, the wind's still whipping out there. Same direction it's been all day long as Denny Hamlin watches the final 3 cars.
The Toyotas just seem to be able to maintain really, really high mid-corner speeds without getting their cars so draggy that it kills top speed down the straightaway, right? They have this really, really nice mix between the two.
Amazed at how they can use so little racetrack on the exit of 2.
See everybody almost kind of steering away from the wall,
Yeah.
Jeff. Tell you what, it might not be the pole, but this is a terrific qualifying effort for that 9 bunch.
Yeah.
Third, I think they'll take that all day long, Steve.
That's mission accomplished. Mission accomplished for this 9 car, where qualifying has really just been a weakness, and this is the next, second mile and a half in a row, and another great qualifying run.
How about the winner of the pole for the last 2 fall Vegas races, Christopher Bell? Let's see if he can knock his teammate Hamlin off.
We have to be wide open over here.
The current front row looking on. Bell trying to break those 2 apart.
really good 3 and 4. Really good.
Gaining time to the line. Where does Bell wind up? Third. Just short of his teammates.
Good job.
And then there was one. Kyle Larson going to make his qualifying effort here at Las Vegas.
Sounded very unsure of his car in the interview, wasn't sure what he had. I'm not sure it's pole speed, but there's still some time to be made up down here. Every position helps on your pit road pick.
But I would think from where they were in practice for Kyle Larson to have a nice, safe, solid lap and wind up in 6th, that's okay. But it's going to be Joe Gibbs Racing 1, 2, 3 in qualifying here from the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. And Denny Hamlin is going to be on the pole to kick off the round of 8, Danielle.
Yeah, Marty, Jeff Burton, Denny said you got 1, 2, 3, and 4 perfect with that arc. How'd you feel about that lap?
I felt good about it, truthfully. You know, wasn't a whole lot left out there for it, but yeah, great job of this AM/PM team to get my car, you know, good. It was good in the short run in practice as well. Got to work on it in the long run for tomorrow, but you know, Saturdays has really been our Achilles heel at this racetrack, and that's a great way to turn that around.
I heard you in the car during practice. It sounded like it was a handful, Denny. What are you looking for? What does it need for tomorrow?
Yeah, it's just, you know, going through the swings of this racetrack. It's going to go through so many transitions from Saturday to the beginning of Sunday to the end of Sunday. And so trying to prepare and set up your car for the end of Sunday, but having to deal with it on Saturday is always a challenge for us here at this racetrack. But the team just did a great job of putting a big old Band-Aid on it today, and hopefully tomorrow's going to be better.
You prepared at the shop this week, too. Gail told me you spent 4.5 hours in the sim and then had a large list of questions after for him asking, what can I do better? What is your level of focus like, Denny? Does it change now with so much pressure coming into the round of 8?
I mean, there's not a whole lot of pressure. I'm just going to try to do the best I can every week, and, you know, concerning myself with stage points and strategy and all that stuff just doesn't matter, and it's not anything that really I can control. So I'm just going to try to do the best I can every week. I'm never closed to making any adjustments I need to do as a driver to continue to get better. And I feel like each and every week I learn a little bit of something that I just didn't know last time. So just that ability to, you know, ask those questions and take that information and do something with it is why we've kept this thing going.
Looking for his first championship. That was pole number 47 in Denny Hamlin's career, Dylan.
And Chase Briscoe will join him for a all Joe Gibbs Racing front row tomorrow here in Las Vegas. You just said you felt like you gave some away in 3 and 4 there. What happened down there?
I just tried running wide open in our Bass Pro Shops Tracker Toyota, and I wish now I would have just backed it up and tried to get a good run on exit. But yeah, it was tight, obviously, there at the whole top of the field. So, yeah, I was talking to Brooks on the way to the track today. I said, where do you think Daddy's going to qualify? And he said, second. I said, second? Really, man? And I said, actually, I'd be happy with that. So, can't be too mad. Yeah, certainly, you know, felt like we kind of let one slip away, but in a great position for tomorrow. And that's what we have to do. I mean, like me and you were just talking, the playoff cars are 1 through 6. So, you have to start up front to get those stage points. So, did our first part of the job this weekend, and hopefully we can do the rest tomorrow.
When you've got teammates that are kind of bookending you here, first and third, where's the separation? Where can you gain time or speed or points or however you want to look at on the guys that you're kind of racing in-house?
I mean, in qualifying, I felt like a lot of it was just the wind. Like, if you would have got a little bit of a wind here or there, but yeah, it's hard because we all, you know, have the same stuff, and we can all kind of see what we're doing and from a strategy standpoint and everything else. So it definitely makes it challenging, but yeah, for us to come here and run, you know, 1, 2, 3 in qualifying, and, you know, Ty, even for as early as he went out, ran a really good lap too. So yeah, I feel really good about all the Toyotas, but especially the JGR cars tomorrow, and it'd be pretty cool if we could finish 1, 2, 3. I'd be first instead of second.
Chase Briscoe starts second tomorrow.
And the 1, 2, 3 sweep, first time a season. This season, a team has done that, and the first time for Gibbs, Jeff, since 2020, they swept the top 3.
Yeah, as he mentioned, the top 6 are all playoff guys. Joey Logano, 9th.
And really, the worst playoff driver, Ryan Blaney's just back here in 14th, and I know, well, he's not going to love that. I think that's kind of close enough, right? He's going to start behind, but a good few restarts, and he can be right up there in it. So, you know, 8 entered, and I think still 8 remain with everything possible.
Go back a little bit further, you see Josh Berry, who won here in the spring, Jeff. So you never know what can happen here at Las Vegas. Someone deep in the field.
For a playoff team today is an automatic berth into the championship 4.
Ka-ching, baby. Yeah! VIVO, Las Vegas. Hell yeah, nice job. Let's go get a championship, baby. Push a checker flag. Hell yeah! Yeah, good job, guys. Go to Phoenix, boys. He will not get to you. Let's go!
That's what 2-time Cup champions do. They rise to the occasion.
Woo! Championship 4.
But the first 6 cars are all playoff cars. I expect them to run like that most of the day. You have to think it's going to take a win. And on the other side, while you're pushing for that win, you just cannot have a major fumble, a speeding penalty of 10 speeding penalties here in the spring.
Yeah.
10. If that's you early in the race, okay. If that's you the last pit stop of the race, big problem.
And Jeff, do you like Denny Hamlin's mentality? I'm not going to worry about strategy or points or any of that. I'm just going to go out and try and win the race.
I really do. I think Denny Hamlin is, you know, he's matured, he's smart, he's the best, in my opinion, this is the best Denny Hamlin version we have ever had as a race car driver, and he's ready for this. And he's just not letting the moment be bigger than him. He's just focusing on